Welcome to 4IR. The fourth industrial revolution will bring change across all walks of life. It is changing business as we know it across all industries, as the future of business will be steered by innovators. Today we meet with Martin Masitise, an engineer and entrepreneur.
Martin Nare Masitise, founder and owner of Mohlalefi Engineering. I grew up in Orange Farm, a township on the south of Joburg. Very humble beginnings. I was actually born in Soweto, and while very young, my parents relocated to Orange Farm, and that's where I did my primary schooling and my high schooling. It was good. I could get the grades, and it was a fun experience, self-discovery and finding your place in the world and in the society. It was fun times, no responsibilities. It was fun at the time. In actual fact, throughout my high schooling, I thought I was going to study medicine until I got to grade 11. And then in my grade 11, my school was fortunate to be a part of Formula One in schools, a program that was supported by the Sangari Group. So I participated in Formula One in school. I was actually the team principal or chairperson of the team at Rapila. So it's using miniature Formula One cars, small wooden cars that are CNC machined, propelled by a carbon dioxide cylinder. So I took part in that, and that introduced me to CAD, computer-aided design. That introduced me to wind tunnels. So at grade 11, I had an idea of what a wind tunnel was and what it was about. It introduced me to CNC machining. And from then on, I decided that I was going to study engineering, mechanical that is. The company was officially registered in 2017, April the 19th. However, work had started before then, and we only sold. So that's when it started. There was a lot of R&D and development work done, and we only sold our first product late 2017. My training as a mechanical engineer, I worked for several companies in the nuclear space, energy generation, coal, mineral processing, and so on. And one of my employees was in the mining space. Duracet Strata Control was my last employer, and it produced roof support products for mines. So I had established a reputation with the mines, such that even after leaving the company, they would still come consult with me to better understand products that they could use and advise on how to make improvements in troubled areas. So the mines kept on consulting with me beyond me moving from Duracet. And there was one pertinent challenge that the mine had, which could not be resolved at the time. And I had an idea on how that could be done with technology that was available, and created some samples, tested them at the mines. It took some time to a point where the mine was interested in buying my product. But at the time, I had no factory, I had no plant. All I had was an idea and a product that works. And then from then, that's when the company developed. How did I start my company without any capital? So the focus was on the product. I didn't have a factory. But when my client at the mine looks at a product, they don't look at a factory. They don't look at where it comes from. They look at a product that works, and if I can prove to them that it works. So what I did, I bought components from different suppliers at the time, and I custom made them and fitted with my own technology to present it to work. Of course, you make that at a loss. You buy a component, you buy an item for say 1,000 rands, you chop it off, whatever you use is worth 200 rands, you put your add-ons on there, test it and get it to work. But when I presented that to a client, it might have cost me 5,000 rands each. And at a client, it's supposed to be sold for 500 bucks. So the focus at the beginning was to get a product that works. And to get that done, I had to buy things from different suppliers, chop and change them, because I did not have the machinery to do that. chop and change them, and did several tests until the product worked. After I had a product that worked, tested independently, used reputable testing facilities for that to attach the prestige with the product. I used the CSIR. So when I went to a client, I would present the CSIR certificate and say, this is my product, this is what it has passed. It works. I can only make 5 of them. I know you need 5,000, but I've demonstrated that I can make 5 and it works. Are you interested in buying this? And if the mind says yes, then I ask, can you put that in writing? We're not talking cost as yet, because I'm nowhere near cost competitive. And over time, the mine agrees, they have a commitment. Then I had an arrangement with a company in Sasolburg that leased some machines. We had a lease arrangement where I used some machines and then I would pay them a fee monthly. But now, because remember, in your manufacturing process, that's also an additional cost. You're still not running profitably, if breaking even at best. And now the next phase after having a product that works was to demonstrate that I could supply. And that I could supply, now I move from 5 to 100. And they say, okay, we'll give you a small section. Can you show us that for the next 6 months, you'll be able to give us 100 and produce it consistently, and that it works? I did that. And even that you do at a loss. So let alone a small SMME. So, you have to go through the motions and the learning curve. Yeah, so that's how it started. First, a product that works, that demonstrates that it can work. You're not looking at being profitable at that stage. You could call it R&D development phase. So it's all sunk cost. But it's because it's small scale, it's not that expensive to fund relative to buying machinery. Then the next phase, to demonstrate consistency, that's when I had a lease agreement with a manufacturer. I did not have my machines as yet. But even then, it was not easy to break even or get anywhere close to that because of the costs that you have to incur. But the focus then is to demonstrate consistency and that the product works. And then the next phase, so the time that I could approach a funder, I had a product that works, I had a client that wanted to buy the product. And remember, I did not have any machines yet, but I demonstrated all this. So my client, at the end of the day, all they saw was a product that works. And I could show them a certificate that it's worked and it's checked. And I could show them that I manufactured, but I didn't have a factory. But now for them to take me more seriously, to commit bigger numbers, they might want more. But I would have done the first fundamental stages to get to the next point.
Welcome back to 4IR. The South African government has built various vehicles to fund entrepreneurship. There's a big interest in funding projects that leverage 4IR technologies as well as science and engineering. Let's meet NEF Fund Manager, Aldine Govender, to tell us more about some of the opportunities that are available.
I'm Aldine Govender. I'm a fund manager at the National Empowerment Fund of the Imbewu Fund. My experience growing up, I'm from Mossel Bay in the Western Cape. It's a small fisher town. I went to a public school in primary and high school. I had a good experience as a child. At the time, the focus was on religion, schooling, your education, and you really just the teachings of your parents and any seniors within the community. We were a very close-knit community, very different from the bigger cities like Johannesburg and KwaZulu-Natal. So that was my experience. So the NEF is a development financial institution. We've been exclusively mandated to support Black businesses by providing financial and non-financial support. We're an agency of the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and the NEF provides funding from 250,000 up to 75 million rand. We have 4 funds within the NEF. It's the Imbewu Fund, it's the Rural Township and Community Development Fund, it's the Strategic Projects Fund, as well as the Umnoto Fund. In general, we provide funding from 250,000 up to 75 million, like I mentioned, but the products that we provide is acquisition finance, startup capital, and expansion capital, including the franchise and contract-based financing products that we offer through the Imbewu Fund. We hope to make an impact on the economy by growing the economy through the Black entrepreneurs that we support. We hope to make a meaningful impact in terms of transformation in the country. When you empower a Black entrepreneur, you are creating jobs. You can empower youth, you can empower women. We can then address poverty, the challenge of poverty in our country, the challenge of unemployment as well as inequality. A successful entrepreneur, it's someone who really understands the industry, it's someone who understands the market and provides the relevant product offering to the market and runs a sustainable and commercially viable business.
How did the NEF help me? Now coming to the fund, and I've demonstrated concept, proof of concept. I've demonstrated that there's a market available, even if I've sold 500, but there's a client who's buying this and they can use more. And the prospects out there that there are more clients who can also use the same product. Now, remember, when you approach a funder is an investor. An investor is looking for returns. So you need, although the NEF and your IDCs take a different form as DFIs, developmental funding institutions, in that they operate as similar to your banks in terms of principle being the return on investment, however, a lot more lenient in that if I do not have collateral, now I've got this concept that works and I need 15 million rands to buy my first batch of machines, but I do not have any collateral to protect or to guarantee them that they will get their money. Banks would not fund that. Now, your NEF and your IDC have a mandate from government to look at businesses with potential. So they still do their due diligence, they still do their critical checks, but the leniency is on, it's only relying on the proof of concept and that there's a market. And the element of risk, the appetite is a lot higher. With the proof of concept, proof of market, the NEF entertained our application. And this was now in 2019. So from 2017 to 2019, about 2 years of that R&D and demonstration and not breaking even. So we still managed to produce some financials. So even if your financials show losses, but it shows improvements and your losses can be justified, that if with the investment, these are the costs that are we cutting or reducing, and then they're interested to fund. And that's when the NEF came on board. So they have the aftermarket, after post-investments team. It's the funds themselves, but they also assist you in implementing the project. I was the project manager for my project, but that's also an independent function. So they ensure that in the process and how you implement a project is sustainable and that it's best use of the money. And beyond that, once all the equipment is bought and the plant now runs, support in terms of your finances, marketing, further access to facilities like your working capital, which you now need beyond your first investment. And just checking the general health of the business going forward. We have steering committee meetings on a regular basis, which is like the governing structure, framework for the investment and monitoring what the business is doing. So the post-investment support is quite helpful. growing beyond that first phase of investment. Looking at it from a Mohlalefi that has grown to now become a medium company and looking to be a large company in future, we would like to supply to the rest of the continent. We're already supplying in SADC, Zambia and Zimbabwe, part of the DRC, but there's mining activity in other areas of the continent as well. And beyond supply, also expanding our technology. We have a lot of patents that we develop, registered in the US, in Australia, in SADC, Canada. We actually participated in a technology conference last year in Australia, where we had a paper that was presented there. We'll be doing one in Sweden later on this year. Zimbabwe, Zambia, we're also active in Sanaya and Zanaya. So the impact that I would like Mohlalefi to have is to continue to be a technology driver in the mining space, expand our territory and improve the safety in mines through our technology.
Welcome back to 4IR. We asked Martin Masitise about how the fourth industrial revolution has affected his field and what the state of mechanical engineering is in South Africa.
Technology has changed my field in a number of ways. Looking back, we are now sitting with 4IR, fourth industrial revolution, dating back in the late 17th century, the first industrial revolution, which when we were looking at steam engines using coal fire, and that's when scaled agriculture started. Before then, it was wagons driven by horses or bulls, but now we're introduced to steam. And at the time, because of that, we could now get mass production. You could get agriculture evolving. Then came the second industrial revolution, discovery of electricity, oil and gas, and from that came engines, fuel engines, came other things, transmitting electricity and firing things differently. And then the third revolution, which was now more with electronics and more refinement of the third revolution, and to where we are today with machine learning, robotics, artificial intelligence, the link between human beings and machines, and teaching machines to do and replace some functions that are done by human beings. So the advancement and these revolutions have had a major impact in my field, as a mechanical engineer, but broadly in general, all engineering fields, the relevance of the equipment used, the relevance of the machines. Now we are looking at green technology. We're looking at having a clean environment. The first industrial revolution, when we were burning coal, we still do today, but relatively more efficient. The concern had nothing to do with that. It was just getting things done. But now we've realized the carbon dioxide emissions and, we're damaging the environment. So the technology and society and its evolution, is what changes the industry. So mechanical engineers were there back then. The focus was completely different to mechanical engineers that are trained today and relevant to the fourth industrial revolution and how other revolutions in the future, how things will be, whether we'll have flying cars and how they will be propelled. Mechanical engineers would have to adjust again with the technology and what is relevant in the world at the time. It's fun. I just like seeing ideas through from concepts and pen and paper to something big that is built and that actually works and fulfills a purpose. And again, engineering in alignment with society and in our everyday lives, every day and everything that we do, we interact with what engineers have created. So I like that element of how it changes and evolves, in society, and how practical and related it is to our everyday living. The NEF, they have a board. It's the same as you would have with a bank. Qualified, competent people who understand the ins and outs of financial institutions, and their due diligence process is just as strict. But the only tweak that they have difference is that they have a bit of a heart and a bit of a risk appetite. And because of that, a company like Mohlalefi would have an opportunity with them. And also believing in an idea, because they started funding Mohlalefi as what they call an SPF project, special purpose project. That means, in simple terms, a project which you're not sure if it will work or not, but it has a lot of potential. That's my interpretation of it. But essentially, that's what it is. It's just risking capital in a company, in a concept, more than anything. Demonstrated that it works, it has sales, no contracts as yet, but potential for and of interest from suppliers, or rather from clients, end users, and established network of suppliers, that we had a plan that could work. And that's all we had, a concept. And the NEF funded us as just a plan, as an idea, which makes it quite special. Believing in something that, and at the time, as an entrepreneur, of course, I would believe in my vision and I'd believe in my dream. And to have someone that resonates with that energy, is something special.
I would like to contribute my experience and knowledge. I want to pass my experience and knowledge on, not just internally to the staff at the NEF, but also to entrepreneurs, to ensure that we build the book of the NEF. And hopefully the NEF can expand and play a more meaningful role in the economy if we can get additional resources.
We can compete, and I don't see, and I hold Mohlalefi to that standard, that whatever we manufacture, whatever we produce in Mohlalefi should be no different from what is made in Bavaria or Stuttgart in Germany, and that's my belief, and that's in the DNA of Mohlalefi. And the international conferences that we do, only black company that does that in the space, in the mining space. But that's the standard we uphold, and that's my perspective of the entrepreneurship space and the role I play as an entrepreneur. It has been challenging transitioning from the background where I grew up in, and to now have dreams of having a company, or which does what we do now, and to want to grow it even further and probably list at some stage. Is a challenge constantly, and one needs to fuel themselves, and that's where my spirituality comes in handy.